This program is intended for a mature audience. If you are not 18 or over, please stop listening and find more age-appropriate content. The show will cover content in an adult-minded manner. If you are offended by any material here, you have a choice to stop listening. Please listen with an open mind and don't discriminate to the ideas of our guests. Thank you and enjoy the show. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Ashley Shannon. Welcome to Living Well with Bad Habits. Our guest today is Tommy. So, Tommy, welcome. I heard that you own a photography business.
I do.
What is your
Uh-huh.
meaning behind that? Why do you like photography?
Um, Actually, I always had an interest in photography. And then when my brother passed away and we were going through like pictures and stuff of him, I'm like, we have none. Like, we do not have the amount of pictures that we should have. And I think that really kicked it off of like part of the reason that I really started to get back into it was because I'm like, there's a lot of things that people probably want pictures of that they just don't have pictures of. And then I got really bad into my mental health and was trying, and I got out of it for a while. And I actually went to a veterans hunt that's held. It's the largest in the United States up here in Pennsylvania. We hold it in November. And I looked at my ex and I said, I want to take my camera. I just want to go with you and take my camera. And he just said, go for it. And that's whenever that really sparked it back, that I was like, oh my gosh, I miss doing this. Like, all the veterans were very, very appreciative of the pictures. There were guys who were young and old. They were like, oh, I can't wait to go home and tell my friends about this, or my grandkids, or my kids, or my parents. So
Oh,
that's really what sparked it back up.
that's amazing. Yeah, we're all for our veterans too here. So we actually have a show dedicated to them. So, um, but also, like, can you tell me a little bit of your backstory?
Where do you want me to start? I think is a better question.
I'm kind of I was, reading some of your stuff, that sort of thing, looking at another podcast that you had done
hmm
just recently. And I don't know if this is like a touchy subject for you. If it is, we don't have to talk about it. One thing that I noticed that was not brought up is the trauma that you had about the horse lady.
Oh, Kay. We call her Kay. She was, to the naked eye, if she was to talk to you, you'd probably think, oh my gosh, she's such a wonderful, heartfelt lady. But behind closed doors, she had to be the biggest monster that most people had ever met. She was a child abuser. She would starve any kid who went to her house to help at her horse rescue. You were basically you were treated like a servant. You were not treated well at all. And she had just this last, I think 2022, she was finally charged and put in prison for 20 years over fraud. Now she is facing a whole plethora of charges, including fraud, financial exploitation of a elderly care dependent person,
Oh wow.
um,
That is not cool.
So
animal neglect
there's a
because she
lot more
was,
to that story then.
yeah, animal neglect, dealing pharmaceutical drugs, improper use of I think a federal facility.
Gotcha.
So there's like a whole plethora of things. And once she was finally sentenced, where I knew she couldn't touch me anymore, I'm like, okay, this needs to come out. And since I've been coming out with it, there's been a lot of other kids in my area. Well, I can't say kids anymore. We're all adults, who have had experiences with her. I've also had people reach out from different states and they're like, oh, this same thing happened to me. And I slowly started to realize it's pretty common in the horse world to have people like that.
That's actually pretty sad because no child should ever have to go through anything like that, let alone an
Oh, wow.
elderly person too. Like, I worked as a CNA and I am all about, taking care of the elderly, and you're not supposed to do that sort of thing, just like children. Like, they're learning, they're growing. Like, when you traumatize a child like that, it's with them for the rest of their life. And so I'm sorry you went through that because that's just awful.
So did she like force you guys to like have to like stay there and like threaten you guys like if you tell your parents what's going on, like I'm gonna come after you or something, or like how come like the word didn't come out a lot sooner?
Well, the word came out like to my parents and stuff probably 3 years after I started going up there and spending weekends. Because I met her at a county fair. She was doing pony rides. I'd gone up there for 2 or 3 years consecutively. Um, and she asked me if I wanted to help with pony rides. And my parents were like, yes, she's been on the sports pick forever. Like, Nova, come here.
Hmm.
She's been on the sports kicks forever. Let's just see how she does when she's got to do the work. And then I'm sorry about the puppy.
Oh,
No, you're all right.
A
Trust
lot of our
me.
shows have a dog barking in the background and everything too. So
Okay. So it eventually turned into I was going up there. Nova, come here, baby. I know Papa's here.
Aw.
So it eventually turned into me going up there and spending the day up there. And then eventually she was like, oh, well, you're driving an hour here. She can just spend the weekend. She's a pleasure to have. And I was all excited, completely innocent kid, totally blind to what was about to happen. And then as weekends went on, she kind of we were lucky to get one meal a weekend.
oh wow.
There was another girl who went up there with me quite frequently. She was from about an hour the other way, so 2 hours away from my house. And we were lucky to get fed once a weekend. And as it slowly got worse, I mean, she would wake us up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We weren't allowed to go back down to the house until 10 p.m.
Oh, wow.
And if we had nothing else to do, we were picking up twigs out of her yard.
Hmm.
And the reason that it took so long to come to light was because she was a master manipulator.
Yeah.
And she would tell people, like I would tell my parents that, oh, I really didn't eat at Kay's house. And my parents would ask her, and they're like, well, did she eat? And she would be like, oh, she eats like a bird when she's here. I try to feed her all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So, and my parents were like, maybe she's just nervous to eat there or say that she doesn't like the food and she just kind of nibbles at it.
Yeah.
So that's what made it take so long to.
Yeah. So she was covert narcissist manipulator. Yeah. Those are like very, very bad people. And they can pretty much convince anybody of anything.
Exactly. And she, like I said, she was also an animal hoarder. She never had less than 100 horses at her place.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So was it just you two basically taking care of the horses the weekends you were there?
Yeah, she would not leave her house. She would sit. She had a trailer at one point and then it burnt down. She had like a shanty built thing. But she would sit at her computer and bid on horse items on eBay. Or she would watch TV or she would sleep. There were times that we were up there, with some horses that were kind of questionable. And she was sleeping, that if we would have got kicked or anything, she would have never known.
Wow, so you're lucky you guys didn't get hurt when you were there then.
Yeah, exactly.
We got hurt several times. I remember I did break my arm once because she had me get on a horse that was really questionable. And I said I didn't feel comfortable. And she's like, well, quit being a baby and get on the fucking horse or else you're never coming here again.
Yeah.
And I remember getting on and this horse just taking off and we were in a round pen. And I remember my arm got caught in the round pen.
Oh, wow.
And thankfully it was on a Sunday, so my parents were already on their way. And she's like, don't tell your parents you fell off of her. Just say you fell down running through the yard or something.
Yeah, the likelihood of breaking your arm running through a yard is pretty slim to none. So, like, if a parent actually believed that, I think they would possibly not believe that because I would question it as a parent myself.
My parents, I told them the truth right away, and I said, "But don't tell Kay. I told you. She told me to tell you I fell in the yard." And so my parents confronted Kay, and she was like, "Well, yeah, she just wanted to ride really bad, and she was the only horse that I had over here that I was even told was broke, and it was my bad that she wasn't broke to ride."
That's not an acceptable, response at all.
No.
No.
Well, I mean, I know it's not like today, but I mean, back, and I'm assuming you're around about close to the same age we are. Like our parents, if we got hurt somewhere, it wasn't like, oh crap, are they going to sue? So it's kind of, well, it was their own fault type deal. And I don't know if
Yeah.
that's how your parents were looking at it at that time or.
My mom grew up on a farm, and my dad was an outdoorsman. Shit happens when you're out doing stuff like
Yeah.
that. So my parents like knew the inherent risk. Plus, she ran a rescue where she got horses dropped off from a slaughter truck every
Mm,
Wednesday. So like my parents knew that there were probably going to be some questionable horses going through, and they knew I wanted to learn how to train and stuff, and figured it was a good opportunity to start, tuning these horses up because they were going to be resold. Um, but that never it
she,
never crossed anybody's mind to sue or anything like that because everybody knew the inherent risk of what I was doing.
okay. Yeah, because I mean, if something like that happens with our kids, we're kind of like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not that type of people, so don't get me wrong. I just was curious because of how like society kind
Look at
of
Brant, you're
goes.
running into the ditch switch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because we were down in Texas, and our son he didn't even run into it. He walked into it.
Hmm.
He was looking down at his feet and walked into a ditch witch and sliced his head wide open.
Yeah.
And she was out running an errand, and I'm not good with blood. Like it doesn't bother me, but I just don't like dealing with it. And he comes up to me because I was trying not to laugh at him because he comes up, he's like, oh no, and he's holding it. And I'm like, okay, I don't see blood yet. The moment he went like this, it just started running down. I'm like, oh man. He's like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And
Hmm.
I just bandaged him up and sent him on his way. And luckily, he didn't need stitches or anything like that. But yeah, the people we were staying, their land we were staying on was like, oh crap. And it's like, things happen. They're kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That,
my philosophy of like, I remember I was listening to a podcast probably a month ago, and this guy's like, "You don't see kids with casts anymore. You don't see kids getting in fist fights. And you wonder why kids are the way that they are. None of them are
Mhm.
getting their butts beat. None of them are being kids playing outside, being rough."
No, they're not.
Exactly.
You're not wrong. I said I was a kid who was outside all the time. Granted, some of
Yep.
it wasn't under my own accord,
Yeah.
but I'm glad that I did grow up that way and went through what I did because I still have horses to this day, and she taught me how to do everything wrong, so I can do everything right by the horses that I have now.
There you go.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So there was some positivity out of it. Like, you learn what not to do to be able to
Yeah,
do the right thing. So,
Yeah, because
and I take on some of the most challenging horses that like people are like, "Oh, I'm ready to just send them to the auction, and wherever they end up, I really don't care. They're so bad." And I've taken a lot of those horses in and found them good homes, or I even sold them back to the original owner that they're like, "Oh, all they needed was, somebody with time and that understood."
so
mhm.
you kind of like took her business and reshaped it to where it's done the correct way then.
Not really, because yes, she said that, "Oh, I get these horses off the slaughter truck. I'm a rescue and all this other stuff." In reality, none of the horses ever left.
Well, that's
She
what I mean by
was,
you did it the right way. Where
yeah,
you were rehoming them.
Yeah.
she was a grade A animal hoarder.
Yeah. And being able to abuse them then too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now
Yeah,
I'm done the way that she said it was supposed to be.
that's
Yeah.
kind of like what my cousin does, Amy,
Yeah.
because she's got horse boarding. I don't really know too much about it, but I just know she boards horses and stuff like that, and breaks them and all
Trains
that
them.
fun
Yeah.
stuff.
That. Yeah.
And my sister kind of went through that with the horse that they bought.
Yeah, Angie with what's the horse's name again? What is it? Do you remember?
I don't. That's why
I
I'm looking
can't
at you
remember
blankly.
either. But he is beautiful. Like he is
Yeah,
beautiful. Um,
yeah, because they got her from somebody that had been neglecting them. They went to a
yeah, my
show, and
sister.
my sister's like, "You ever looked in something's eyes and knew like I need you and you need me type deal?" And she goes, "That's how it was with the horse." And
Yeah.
they've had some struggles with it and had to redo her hips or something like that.
Yeah, she has a vet that comes out that has to realign her and stuff like that because the abuse that she endured. Like, you can't even when we went out to see her, you can't even like take a vape in there at all because the guy that was abusing her vaped. And
Mm-hmm.
so like she was not happy because my husband was
She liked me up until I
yep
took a
and
hit of my vape, and
yep,
then it was all done.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So
I actually rescued one of Kay's horses, and she went to the auction. It was a state mandated auction that I think 20 of her horses went to. And we went down, and my ex at the time, he was like, I really want a horse. And we had talked about it. We'd been together for about 2 years. And he fell in love with this black and white little mare. And I'm like, I
yeah.
said, I don't like her. Like, I
Mm-mm-mm.
hate her. Because she was just very, she's very bitchy.
Yeah.
And my ex loved her. And he's like, I just like the bitchy ones. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But you're going to be doing a lot of work. And she ended up being a great horse. I have no complaints about her. She was only there for a short period, but I ended up selling her to a boarder at my barn. He had put his old mare down in the spring and asked me about her. And I said, yeah. I'm selling her. And he's like, well, I'll take her. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Now she's not going anywhere. I know she's going to be at a good home. But there's a couple things that, like, especially when food first comes out, she's overly aggressive because she knew she was going to be fighting for it for the longest time. She has granted gotten a lot better, but she was very food aggressive, like would not let any of the other horses near a huge round bale because she was afraid that that was going to be her only food for God only knew how long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
She
seem
carried a lot
like
of that trauma for a long time.
horses seem to remember a lot. I mean, they're
Yeah.
very intelligent animals.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Unfortunately, sometimes too intelligent for their own good.
yeah,
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 we have dogs like that.
yeah. Our chows. We have three chows, and they are extremely intelligent, and it's like,
Don't
if,
rock too far back. Bear's head is like right underneath that one side.
oh, of course, Mr. Bear Bear. Yeah, we love our dogs tremendously, and I could just not imagine, they're so smart, and people are like, oh, they're dogs, they don't remember stuff. No, they remember a lot. Like, our one child got out one time when we lived in Kansasville, and like it was pouring rain. You wouldn't have thought that he'd be able to get back to the house. And they had drones out and everything looking for him, and they still couldn't find him. Here he was in a pond like way back in the other neighborhood, swimming around, and all of a sudden 5:30 in the morning, I'm like, I hear something outside, and he's like, no, I don't think so. And he goes and looks out the window, and here it is, it's Bo, and he just looks like a drowned rat, and he ended up getting in like barbed wire fencing
Oh
and
gosh.
cut like his whole top of his head. He was like bald in here.
He looked like the bear from the Great Outdoors.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh god, poor
So
guy.
yeah, but that's the one thing is they say, oh, once a dog gets out, they're not going to remember their way back. And they have gotten out quite a bit over in Kansasville, and they came back. Like, I'm like, okay, but their mom, our girl child, she loves the cornfields. She got out when she was 8 months old.
Spent 10
Um,
days on her own.
yeah, 10 days out there on her own. And literally, we would chase her in like all these cornfields. And she was only 2 miles from our house and living in this guy's land in the culvert at the end of his driveway. And we finally got her. My mother in law actually went out with a bunch of hot dogs and coaxed her that way and finally got her back. But yeah, it's Bo and Bear, our two male dogs, are actually her pups, two of her pups.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we couldn't get rid of.
yeah, they were too scared to go with anybody else. And Bo is he's tough. He acts tough, but if you go like and a stranger goes near him, you try to take him to the vet, he poops and pees himself all over the place. So he's just a big old teddy bear, basically.
He's
And
afraid of his own shadow.
yeah,
Pretty much.
yeah, yep. I call him my big pansy. But
That's how one of her dogs was, because she also had 14 dogs out in
Oh wow.
kennels.
wow, yeah. I just don't understand how people can do that to animals though. Like it kind of infuriates me. Just like, when people traumatize children too, that infuriates me as well.
It infuriated us, and there was a discussion that we had amongst all of us who were there at her property after she went to jail, because I was actually one of the first ones up there and volunteered my time to take care of her animals whenever she got arrested. Because I'd read the news article and I'm like, I know she doesn't have anybody, because her biological daughter doesn't talk to her for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of the kids who went there who didn't talk to her. I was one of the only ones who I kept in contact, but very much kept my distance. She didn't know where I lived. She didn't know how many horses I had. She didn't know where my horses were boarded at. She didn't know any of that. But she dealt a lot of tack, and I sell some tack on the side too. And if somebody messaged me that they were looking for something, if I didn't have it, I would message her and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can you give me a good deal on it? Kind of wheeling and dealing it. And she'd be like, oh, yeah, I have it up here. And I always knew she was hurting for money, so she'd pretty much sell anything.
Yeah.
And then I would get it that way. So, like, once she got jailed, I knew damn well that nobody else was going up there. And whenever animal control and everything showed up, we were kind of talking amongst ourselves, a couple other volunteers who had come up who had known her. We all kind of made the comment of, yeah, she's in jail, but she's still living better than what her animals did.
Yeah.
If anything, we should put her in one of her dog kennels and make her piss and shit all over her dog kennel and then hose it off.
Mm-hmm.
Just like she did to her dogs all through the winter and summer and everything. And then she maybe would realize how bad her animals actually had it.
So were all the animals you could save them, or were some of them?
One of the horses was euthanized that I know of. I have heard, not confirmed, so allegedly, she had a litter of, they were mutts. They were Pomeranian, Husky, Bernese Mountain Dog, and something else. I don't remember. Like they were
Wow.
just,
Wow.
they were straight mutts, and she was asking like $2,000 for these dogs.
Hmm.
And allegedly, it was a litter of 5 puppies that she had. And apparently 3 of them had to be put down because they were having so many medical issues. And they had lived out in a kennel outside. They had never been in a house before. So we're assuming quite a few of them were Lymes that progressively had gotten worse by not being treated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And things like that. So we know allegedly 3 of those dogs had to get put down. She had a male and female, pure black German Shepherds that neither of them were fixed. Apparently they had bred and had puppies. I'm not sure how they made it out, and that's all allegedly. I'm not sure. And there were 2 German Shepherd puppies. They were 8 months old, and they were only, I think, 30 pounds.
Oh, wow.
They were
Yeah.
severely underweight.
Yeah. I would say so.
And unfortunately, I feel like an asshole. It took us going up there 3 or 4 days before we found their kennel.
Oh, wow.
Because she had a line of kennels, and there were 3 black male German Shepherds in one. And then she had, I think, a pot-bellied pig in the next one. And then there was the 5 puppies. And then there was another kennel with the male and female German Shepherd. And then there's like a tree, and then that next kennel back was where the 2 small German Shepherds were.
Oh, wow.
So, like, there was just the line, I think it was 5 or 6 kennels. But when you have 14 dogs in there, and she had 2 that she kept in the house, that was a white German Shepherd and a chocolate lab. So they were the only ones who were allowed in the house. Other than that, the rest of them stayed out in the kennels.
Wow.
That's sad. It's very
And it was,
sad.
I buried a lot of it because I had not gone to her. I had gone to her house, but she would not let me go out to the kennels. It was strictly, hey, come in the house.
Yeah.
I pay for what you bought. I'll give it to you. Stand here and bullshit. We'll act like everything's okay for a half hour and then get out. She wouldn't even let me go up to the barn, so I had no idea what state her barn was in for probably close to 10 years.
Wow.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's
And I was devastated when I went up, and I think a lot of it, because you block out a lot of trauma.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think once I got there, I didn't let my ex go with me because he's like, oh, I'll ride up with you. And I said, no, I think I want to go alone. Plus, I don't know what I'm getting into. Like, I don't know if I'm going to go up there and it's going to be swarmed with cops, or I knew she wasn't a great person and she owed a lot of people money if they were going to be there grabbing stuff that, she bought from them, never paid for. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't know what kind of situation I was walking into. And I was walking around the barn, like, I just, everything fled right back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I remember everything that happened here now. And I blocked it all out.
Yeah.
So did you kind of break down at that point, or?
I didn't break down till the second day because we opened all the gates to the pastures, and we had not really assessed any of the horses yet. We were just kind of trying to make sure that they were alive, that they had food and stuff, because we didn't know if she was going to bond out or if she was going to be staying in jail. Well, I remember walking up, she had her back pasture that connected to the barn, and then she had two other pastures that kind of went up. They were all connected. And we were bringing them all down because we didn't want them. If horses get too much grass too quickly when they're not used to it, there
Mhm.
could be a lot of health concerns that come along with that. So we were bringing them all back down. And I remember reaching the third pasture, like as soon as I walked around the gate, and I remember looking to the right. I'm going to tear up now thinking about it. And I remember looking to the right and seeing a little pony. And I said, there's no fucking way. And I said, pal, is that you? And I remember walking over and I lifted up his hair because he always had a huge fetlock. And I seen his face marking, and I'm like, oh my God, how did you survive all this? Because you've got to be almost 40 now, buddy.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
And I remember I have a picture of me and him whenever I was 5 and he was 8. And I was 25 at the time. So we would have, guys, been in his 30s. And I just remember like just sitting down at his feet and just crying. And my ex came up and he goes, what's going on? I'm like, this is Pal. I don't know how he made it through all this.
Oh wow.
I remember seeing a lot of the horses that were emaciated and not in good health. And I'm like, there's no way that like this pony was still alive. And he went to a friend of hers. And I've been trying to get in contact with her because I would love to buy him back and just let him live out his days
Yeah.
with me. Unfortunately, she hasn't reached back out yet. And I don't think she's going to. But I just remember that was the first time that I broke down about the whole situation of I grew up around this pony and I don't know how he's still alive.
That's crazy. There's a reason he's still alive though.
I
So
think it was because he was so used to the neglect
yeah.
It was
that,
normal for him.
yeah, he didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's nuts. Like I don't understand people that can just do that sort of thing. Like to me, animals, kids are like the most amazing things in the world. And how can anybody treat anybody or an animal that way? Let alone, just to me, they're monsters at that point. Like, you don't deserve to be on this earth. And I hate saying it like that, but jail to me is not even justifiable.
No, and that's like why we said about we wish we could have put her in her dog kennels. Like,
Yeah.
she did to those animals. And like, she had a hot tub. And we were all like, how could she sit in that hot tub knowing what it looked like up in her barn? What her dog kennels looked like and how her dogs were living. How could you sleep at night and go out and sit in that hot tub knowing that's the condition of your farm?
Yeah. I don't get it neither. Like, they're just not good people that are like that. And they try to convince everybody else that they're amazing people, but realistically, they are not at all.
To this day, she still claims her innocence on everything. I won't even take phone calls from her.
Oh, wow.
From the person.
I don't blame you at all. Because
I dare
anybody that can try to sit there and say, "Oh, I'm innocent," when there's all the proof, like even if you pile the proof right up in front of them, they'll still sit there and say, "Nope, nope, 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 that's not true. That's not true." And that's a very, very, very sadistic person, and that is a covert narcissist. Like, honestly, they're one of the most dangerous type of narcissists, and they tend to do horrible things to people. So it sucks when a child gets brought up into that too, and it has to be inflicted by their pain, you know. But you don't know also, like, a lot of the time covert narcissists end up with parents that were not so great to them neither, or an individual that was not so great to them. But you can also get help too. You don't have to end up like that just
Well,
because you were brought up in a certain situation.
the worst thing too in that scenario was the fact too is how she was treating the animals, because the animals don't have a voice. They can't
No, exactly.
say, how they're being mistreated and everything. And
Yep.
so it sucks in that aspect because they can't tell you, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but
Oh, absolutely. And that's, once she was put in jail for her first slew of charges, which was financial exploitation of an elderly care dependent over $100,000, I think.
holy,
She ended up stealing altogether from this man and her own mother almost a $500,000. I think it was like $430,000.
well, you'd have thought at that point she could have taken care of the animals a little better.
Yeah, I
She
know,
has
right?
gambling addiction.
Ah,
If you look at any of like the casino websites, like I found out about her mom. I knew the charges were coming for her mom because I'd actually started talking to her daughter, because me and her daughter had become friends over this time, because we realized we were on the same team. She thought I was all for her mom and that I was.
Oh, I think you froze.
mhm.
Realized we were on the same team. So she had texted me and said, my mom got charged for my grandma's stuff. And I looked it up. And I mean, it's just a simple Google search of her name, and there is pages and pages of charges that come up. And she was actually shared on casino.org because they had proven that she had spent $170,000 of her mom's money up at the casino.
Wow.
Man, I think the one time we went, we spent what, $40, and we're like, we spent too much. We got to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I know, as traumatic as that is, you've went through some other things in your life too that were a lot more traumatic. And if it's, I know like that was one of the things you put on for, becoming a guest, but if it is something that's really too hard to talk about, we totally get it.
Mhm.
No, the story that you're referring to, I actually went public about it shortly after my stepdad had passed away. And I realized that, maybe that was my purpose because of all the things that had happened at Kate's house. I kind of stayed silent on that. And I said, I'm not going to be silenced about all the things that happened, the rest of it. And I had posted a TikTok about after my stepdad had passed away, and it went viral. And at that moment, I realized that, like, okay, this is my purpose. This is something I need to spread awareness about, because there's not enough, especially a female, to talk about men's mental health, to talk about all of that stuff is uncommon for a female to do it. And especially a sibling. It's normally a parent who wants to advocate, or a grandparent. It's very rarely, from what the research I've done, the people I've talked to, it's very rarely a sibling who does it. It's normally a parent or a grandparent who tries to take the reins on it.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Um, with that, can you tell me a little bit about your brother?
My brother, I want you to picture a stereotypical biker. 6'2", long hair, 240 pounds. He had a Sportster, Harley Sportster, and a Harley Street Glide.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
He loved his motorcycles, but if you were to picture a stereotypical biker, that was my brother. While he was healthy, I guess I should refrain from that.
Yeah.
And he had dealt with mental health for, as far as we know, he started seeking help back in May of 21.
Okay.
He decided to find the most harsh piece to everybody who loved him on December 30th of 2021 when he took his own life. He left behind literally everything. A dog who was his best friend, who my horse who's actually out in the pasture now, shares the same birthday as my brother.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know that at the time I got her. And is named after his dog. And he left behind a truck, his Harleys, a house. He left behind everything that my brother loved. He left behind because he thought that due to the temporary feelings that he was feeling and the mental health that he was battling with, that the only option was to take his own life.
Now, I think in that other show we were watching, he also had a 4-year-old daughter at the time too, or?
That was my ex-fiance.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got that mixed
You're
up.
fine. You're fine. My brother had no kids. My
Okay.
brother, he did have a girlfriend shortly before he passed. That's a whole different story that I'm not going to touch on.
Okay.
Crazy, I take it?
I think it's best to just leave her name out of it and
Yeah.
kind of leave
Okay.
all that stuff somewhere else.
Yep.
All good.
Opinions are not very highly, if I'm being honest. So
Gotcha.
We've got
Enough said, trust me.
we've got those in our past too.
Yeah.
so but he was single. Said girlfriend at the time was moving out when it happened. Things like that. So he had no kids. He was pretty much alone and really only had his dad, who was terminally ill, which was my stepfather, my mom, and a couple friends, which he had quit talking to his friends when his mental health got really bad.
So you basically went into isolation.
To the extent of what isolation could have been, he went into that. He still went to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
From what I know from people that I talked to that he worked with, is he was still perfectly fine at work, that nobody really knew fully what was going on. They just knew he was taking some time off, but he never said that he was seeking medical help from what I know.
And the whole COVID thing probably didn't help at that aspect too, when everybody was told social distancing and gotta be separate from everyone and
Yeah,
all that crap.
exactly.
Which I feel like him was a blessing and a curse. Because he was also a very outdoors man. Like, yeah, he might have been this big biker dude, but he also ran trap lines.
Mhm.
He spent a lot of time hunting, fishing. If he could have been outdoors, he was outdoors. He would never sit in a house and just kind of be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to watch TV all day. He
Yeah.
could.
Mhm.
So, like, it was a blessing and a curse because he had spent a lot of time in the woods alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't think it was a huge change to him, but it was at the same time.
Did his mental health slowly decline like over the years? Like, was it just a bunch of stuff that added up?
So, I think it was more of the added up, and it really only started to affect him in 2021. His mother had passed away, and his dad was dealing with his medical issues. He was dealing with personal breakups and things like that. So I think it was mainly like just things were stockpiling too high, and like he couldn't keep avoiding the fact that his mom had passed away. His dad wasn't far behind, and all of these, I think it just slowly added up to a point where he's like, okay, I need to get help.
Yeah.
Well, that's one, I mean, one positive of that. He actually got to a point where he said to himself he needed help. And granted, I mean, with the outcome, but he did have enough
Strength
strength
and
to,
realization.
right.
Yeah.
He had enough self-awareness
Yeah.
from about May until November that he really had a problem. He had a journal that he wrote in, and he actually had 4 of them. If I remember correctly, there were 4 that he wrote in. And then November, it completely stopped. And there might have been 1 or 2 journal entries in it from November until the end of December. And I remember I had read it. And one of his last ones in October, we knew he was drinking heavily. And I remember one of his journal entries towards the end of October, I believe it was actually Halloween. And he wrote, "The bottle's talking to me. The bottle keeps telling me to do it. Maybe I should just do it." And we didn't know anything about these journals till he was already gone. But I do remember that, like, he was seeking help. He was writing everything down. A lot of his journal entries were very detailed about how he was feeling, where his mental health was at, some things that, his dad commented on, because his dad was also a biker at one point in his life and was just a rough around the edges guy, that he didn't believe in men's mental health, that men just didn't deal with that.
Suck it up, basically.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
stigma.
He was very old fashioned like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't hold my stepdad accountable for any of the actions that happened.
Yeah. It's just he's a product of his generation, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how that generation grew up of, suck it up, you're the man, you just put your head down and go to work and you provide for your family.
Yep.
Hello everyone, my name is Ashley and my husband and myself own the network Shannon Family Products, and we are proud to introduce our new nonprofit group to help fight brain cancer, also known as glioblastoma. With your help, we can make a difference and hopefully one day find a cure. This type of cancer affects many people all over the world and is very rare for adults to get, as it is a childhood cancer. And this is the cancer that I am battling. With our help and the GRO, we can win this. So I ask all of you and myself to please join together and let's help the thousands of people, along with myself, to win this fight. I would like to say thank you to all of you for your support, and please go on our link to get more information on where you can donate or what you can do to help. We can make a huge difference because no one should have to fight this battle alone.
So there was a lot of journal entries and stuff that was talking about my brother's mental health and addressing it.
Yeah, a lot of them do journal. I did that myself. I've actually told my husband, because him and I come from a past too of trauma and abuse from our old significant others, and we were actually neighbors. And that's how we met each other, and we'd just sit outside and talk, and we were really good friends before we actually became a couple. So, I've finally, told him, like, I think you need to see a counselor. Like, you need somebody to talk to. Um, and I've told him before too, hey, it helps, write your feelings down. Like, this is the same with our oldest son, who has tried to take his life twice now.
Oh, yes.
So, and our other oldest son 3 times. So it's a lot.
And was due to a lot of the abuse from like his biological mom, which is pretty much no longer in the picture.
Yeah. So it is tough. And, so our oldest actually, started journaling himself. I said, you got to get it out some way or another. Like, write it down on paper. So when you are talking to your counselor, you can address your feelings. And, you know, he always tried to just push his feelings off, my husband did. And it's like, you can't do that because eventually it's just going to build up and build up and build up. And you're going to be who knows where at that point. If you can't talk to a counselor, talk to somebody. If it's not me, talk to somebody.
That's kind of why I started doing my podcast, because I have issues with counselors. I can tell them what they want to hear basically, but I
Yeah.
don't deal with anything that I'm having issues with. So I started that Broke But Not Out podcast just so I could get it out, and it actually has helped me out quite a bit. But I mean, during my failed 18-year relationship with their ex, I mean, I tried 3 times to take myself out,
Yeah.
and something kept, like, right when you get over the edge, something kind of like kept pushing you back. And there's a lot the boys were young at that point in time, and it's difficult. And especially, when you're a guy, it's like, okay, I had nobody to talk to at that point in time. It was just kind of, yeah, the whole suck it up thing. But when you're sitting there, instead of eating at night for supper, you're drinking, a bottle of Jack, trying to just go to sleep. Yeah, it's not a good scenario. But luckily, I mean, myself personally, I've gotten over that stigma. And I mean, there's a couple other podcast guys that we're actually gonna hopefully be starting a podcast for men's mental
Mental
health,
health.
with the three of us doing it instead of just one person kind of doing it. It's gonna be all three of us. But so I know, like, kind of getting into the mental health thing, how much did all that
Affect your mental
affect
health.
you, and how did you get through stuff
Hmm.
like that? Because your story, I mean, with it, there was a lot more to it than, after the events of when your brother passed. There was a lot more to it for your mental health.
Oh yeah. I'm the same way. I tried the counselors, I tried the therapist. It wasn't for me. After my brother killed himself, I drowned myself in alcohol. I didn't want to face the feelings. And it was something we didn't talk about at my mom's house. You even brought up my brother's name. My stepdad, what can't say would get enraged, but he would get snappy with you and just say, "We don't talk about it." And I watched my stepdad grieve in silence.
Yeah.
That's the best way that he knew how to handle it. So I drowned myself in alcohol. The month before my brother killed himself, I had started a new job an hour away from home. I was engaged at the time. He had a 4-year-old daughter. That's where the 4-year-old daughter comes into play.
Okay.
Um, and I worked 7 days a week. We got his daughter every weekend. I would come home and I would do everything for his daughter that I could. And I would go home on Sundays to help take care of my brother's estate and take care of my parents, because before I moved, I'd asked my brother if he could help take care of him a little more because I was moving an hour away. And he said, "Yeah, don't worry, I got him." Yeah, he had to check himself in at Jesus though, so that didn't last very long. So I remember, from what I can remember, because like I said, I turned into an alcoholic. There were a lot of bits and pieces that I did probably miss because I was hammered out of my mind, but I was a functional alcoholic, so it really didn't matter, right? Is what I was telling myself. And I just kept trying to truck along until March. And I remember it was the first time I was at my brother's house alone. And I walked through his house and I sat on the edge of his bed. And I just remember saying, "Why am I still drinking?" This is what led my brother to the point where he had said, "The bottle's talking to me." And I said, "How long does it take to get to that point?" And I'm not sure I want to find out.
Yeah.
And by then my engagement had crumbled. And I ended up moving back home because there was just so much going on. And me and my ex-fiance, we still talk here and there. And we've both admitted, like, we both did a lot of wrong in the relationship. And he goes, but ultimately, what you were dealing with mentally was what destroyed our engagement. And I said, yeah, I won't even lie. I know that's what did it. So I lost my brother. I lost an engagement. I moved back in with my mom and stepdad because there was no point in me getting a house because they needed taken care of. They needed help. I was working an hour away from home. I was working 10-hour days. So I was gone typically 13 to 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
So life kind of got better after I quit drinking to the extent of what it can be. I quit drinking. I quit smoking for a little while. I was at like 3 packs of cigarettes a day, basically. And I cut back and I was maybe down to like 2 or 3. And things had gotten better. I had started kind of researching into why my brother did what he did and trying to understand for my own well-being. And then July 7th of 2023, my world flipped around again. I had gone home from work. I had started a new job. I was working closer to home. And I remember it was DuPont Thursday. I worked a job where we worked swing shift days and nights. And DuPont Thursday was our last day before our 7 days off. And I remember coming home, asking my stepdad, I'm like, hey, do you need anything? If not, I'm going to go down to the bar. I'm meeting up with a couple friends from work, so on and so forth. And he said, no, I'm good. But like, it just didn't sit right with me. And I'm like, oh, maybe he's having a bad day with his heart. And I remember going down to the bar and I was sitting there and I was just hanging out with my coworkers, having dinner. And it was about 9 o'clock. My mom had texted me and she goes, hey, Mike's in the hospital. I think you need to come down. It's really bad. And I said, okay, I'm on my way. And I'd left the bar. I'd gotten to the hospital and they said, you can't go back. They're intubating. And I went, well, what? And I remember my mom sending me a picture of him sitting in the hospital room in a wheelchair. And he was in a very uncomfortable position, like he couldn't sit properly. And then she sent me a picture of his vitals, and his vitals were really bad. And I said, why can't I go back? And they're like, they're intubating and doing blood transfusions. He's getting life flighted to Pittsburgh. And I went, okay. All right, this is really bad because normally they don't life flight him because he was terminally ill. They just kind of manage symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And my mom said, well, they said that he would take extraordinary measures at this point. He was no longer on comfortable care.
Right.
That he was going to do extraordinary measures. And I said, okay. I said, so what does that mean? And my mom said after, if he makes it through surgery, he's going to start dialysis for his kidneys. He's going to do all this stuff. And I said, okay. I said, so we're good. He's going to make it through. And my mom's like, I don't know. And she goes, but either way, it'll be okay. And I remember going, it was my boyfriend at the time. I remember going to his house and I said, hey, I have my brakes and rotors in my truck. I said, I need to change my rear brakes and rotors before Life Flight gets here because I got to go to Pittsburgh tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember pulling in his driveway and he lived by the hospital. And I remember hearing Life Flight going over his house. And I was putting my rear tires back on. And I said, I got to go. I got to go. Life Flight's there. So I remember getting my tires put on and I drove to the hospital. And it took them about an hour to bring my stepdad out to get onto the Life Flight because they needed to do another blood transfusion. He had an aneurysm burst in his kidneys. So he was losing a lot of blood.
Not good at all.
No. So I remember them wheeling him out, and it was different than any other time that I'd watched him get life flighted or watched him go down to Pittsburgh, down to the hospital. And something in my gut just didn't sit right. And I remember walking over to my mom and I said, that he's not coming home, is he? And she goes, I don't know, baby girl. And my mom's like, we're not going to Pittsburgh tonight. We're going to wait till the morning. And I said, I don't know if I can do that. And she goes, just go home and try to get some sleep. So I texted my ex and I said, I'm going back to the bar. And I remember walking in the bar, and thank God it was a Thursday night, so none of the bars were busy. And one of the bartenders was my best friend at the time. And I remember just looking at her and crying and saying, my dad isn't coming home. And she's like, I know. I know. She's like, we're just going to make it through this. So I had helped shut down the bar and helped like clean up and stuff just to keep my mind busy. And I went back to my boyfriend's and I just laid down, just started to fall asleep. And his phone started ringing. And I said, well, that's weird. Why is this phone going off at like 3:30 in the morning? And I looked and I seen it was my mom's name. And I knew at that point that my stepdad was gone because she would have called my phone if it was just he made it through surgery. So he had told, so my ex had, well, he was my boyfriend at the time. He had woken up and went to grab his phone. And I like lunged over him and I just remember grabbing his phone and answering it. And I'm like, Mom. And she goes, he didn't make it, honey. And I remember hanging up the phone immediately. And just, I was already hysterical. And I remember just screaming his name. And my boyfriend was like, calm down, I'll drive you over there. And I was already out the door. I was already running through his yard. Like I was screaming, I was crying. I was not in a good mental state. And I remember just flying to my mom's and we were sitting in silence. And we had scheduled to have a celebration of life for my stepdad because we normally did one yearly, that he made it another year. And we had one scheduled for mid-August. And my mom said, do you still want to do it? And I said, yeah. And then like 2 minutes later, she goes, what are we going to do with his truck? And I said, the truck isn't going anywhere, Mom. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I'll buy it. Because we obviously had to go through the estate and buy it.
Yeah.
And I said, it's not going anywhere. That truck's staying.
Because that was your brother's truck too, right?
Yes. That was my brother's big bad truck that he just had to have and decide to turn into a money pit.
Yeah.
We know that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Our Big Bertha Lou, we have a Ford F-250.
Because my uncle ended up, he ordered this truck and bought it, and he took delivery of it a week before our oldest son was born. And then it's a 2005 F-250 with the 6-liter. And if you know anything about the 6-liter, how they had the head gasket issues.
That's what I have, was a 2003 6.0.
Yeah, so you've been there. So my uncle, luckily, the moment it started having the head gasket issues, he parked it, bought a new truck. And he's like, if you want this truck, and I jumped on it because it's like, okay, he got it right after my son was born. It's like, yeah, I want this truck. We spent almost $7,000 in the engine, and then
They have it bulletproof.
we've driven it down to Texas and back. It's actually rusting out, but it's sitting in our driveway right now without with no bed on it, and still trying to get it to stop having hiccups. But yeah, and we've even discussed it. Something happens to me, who gets the truck? And our littlest, our 11-year-old, he's like, well, I want the truck. And she's like, well, if I'm still around, you're not getting it until after I'm
gone. Yeah.
So that truck's, we know how it is to be sentimental to a truck, because that thing's going to be probably rusting away in our driveway for a long time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I kept the truck and all the donor parts because my brother had gone. I can't remember if it was the year he passed away or the year before. I live in Pennsylvania. He drove down to one of the Carolinas to get a donor truck because the bed was rotting out.
Yep.
The doors were rotting out and rocker panels.
Yep.
I think my hood's the only thing not rusting out.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had all the donor parts and everything there. And I said, nope, it's not going anywhere. This truck is going to be rebuilt mainly in memory of my brother.
Yeah.
And I'm going to finish the dream that my stepdad wanted to do. because he had listed the truck for sale after my brother passed away. We knew it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And he had always said, "Oh, I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to fix it up." We knew at that point he was trying to grasp what reality was still left,
Yeah.
that he was still healthy enough to work on it.
And trying not to let go of something that was his son's too in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I kept the truck. My mom kept his motorcycle, his Sportster. And we ended up getting rid of the Street Glide because I'm 5'2" and 130 pounds. My mom's 5'4" and like 140. If we tipped that Street Glide over, there ain't no way we were gonna get it back up.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm only 5 foot and I weigh 125 pounds. So yeah, I can completely understand that one.
Yeah, so we got rid of the Street Glide. My mom still has his motorcycle. I still have the truck. And it's going to be rebuilt for men's mental health. My brother had a lot of money into the truck. I'm running 175 over 30 injectors.
Oh, wow.
I need a new transmission because my brother didn't get to replacing the transmission before he decided to check himself in. So the transmission's going bad because it's not meant to deal with all that torque and power.
Yeah.
Because I'm pushing 798 horsepower to the tires.
If you get a chance, can you send me a picture of that truck?
Absolutely. I had my friend, he was there for me through a lot of it. And after my stepdad had passed away and I was done crying every day and spending it in the bar hammered, he said, "Why don't we get a photo shoot done with the truck?" And he goes,
Yeah.
"We'll do one before, and then once you finish rebuilding it, we'll do another one of once it's done." And I said, "Okay, that sounds good." Granted, it's going to take a while before it's all redone because love that truck to death, but God, is it a questionable truck. We have all the paperwork of everything that was done. I contacted the companies who did all the work and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you ended up with that truck?" And they go, "You aren't afraid to drive it?" And I said, "Oh, I'm very afraid to drive it."
I know they get kind of sketchy when you're going about 75, 80 because, yeah.
Yep.
We know.
Yep.
It's a truck that you can hear from a mile away.
Yeah.
He had upgraded turbo on it and everything. And if you just hit the gas just like a little bit more than an inch, you were going from 0 to 80 really fast. My brother put tires on it every year because there was so much torque going to the tires, it would just spin tires everywhere it went.
Awesome.
Yeah, of course you would love that.
Well, if there's any time when there's something you can't find, let me know because I do have a couple connections with those trucks. So
Yeah.
I actually lucked out. Like I said, I had gone viral on TikTok. And the video was of me getting the truck started for the first time since my stepdad had passed away because I couldn't stand looking at the walls of our house anymore, dealing with the silence of him not coughing or him not in his chair. And it was even before his funeral. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 days after he died. I looked at my mom and I said, "I'm going to start working on the truck." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And I just remember grabbing a case of beer out of the fridge and walking outside. And my mom's like, "Well, apparently this is how she's going to deal with that." And I had made a TikTok, I guess, for my own accountability at the time. And it was kind of telling the story about, my brother took his life. And then 18 months to the day, I lost my stepdad. Their funerals were held exactly 18 months apart.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're on TikTok a lot, so.
It has almost 600,000 views on it. So.
Oh, wow.
There were people who were reaching out for me all over the country. I had a company from Tennessee come up and they put a new sound system in it free of charge.
Oh, wow.
Because they loved the reasoning behind the truck. There was a company out of North Carolina who wants to donate a set of rims and tires for it. there's a couple guys who are in Pennsylvania who are like, anytime you need help with the truck, shoot us a message. We will be there. We're certified Ford technicians.
Nice.
Cool.
That's very nice.
There was actually a mother, she had lost her son to suicide, and he had the same exact truck. And she offered me any parts off the truck. She goes, it's just rotting in my yard, but I can't part with it. She goes, anything you need, just come get it off the truck. Just message me. So there was a lot of outreach. And I just posted on my brother's 1 year, or not 1 year, wow, 3-year anniversary, saying, you know, this is why I care so much about men's mental health. And there was a company that reached out and they said, once you get it done, details are free for the rest of the duration of the truck. Just message us and let us know whenever you're in town and we'll make sure we clear a spot for you.
That's amazing.
Like,
there are still some kind-hearted people out there. You don't find many of that nowadays, but, you know, some
And
people are amazing.
Resonated with a lot of people that they're hearing a sibling speak out about it.
Yeah.
They're not hearing a heartbroken parent who's Nova.
Mhm.
She's not a food dish. Nova. Yes, you making all the noise. That they're hearing it from a sibling and not a heartbroken sibling, but a sibling who wants to spread awareness
Yep.
about men's mental health. They're not, I don't want to put it this way, they're not hearing a pity party. They're hearing
Yeah.
of somebody who's overcoming this and spreading awareness that, hey, men's mental health does matter.
Yep.
And as a female, there's been a couple companies who reached out and they're like, we would never think a female would turn something like this into what you have.
Yeah.
And it's basically started a whole community of people who are like, you need help, let us know. You, whatever you need, you let us know. And I've never accepted any donations money wise. I refuse to do that.
Yeah.
But I remember shortly after, whenever I was working on the truck, I posted a Snapchat story and I said, start a 7 days off. If anybody wants to come hang out, no, I'll be at the garage. And I want to say I went like 2 or 3 days where there was always somebody there and they were just sitting there talking to me. And it was some people that didn't even know my brother. And there were some that did. And I just remember like everybody just like sitting there and they're like, I don't know what to say. I said, talk to me about anything except for my dad dying or my brother dying. Like,
Yeah.
you're struggling with mental health. Let's talk about that.
Yep.
Let's not talk about the cases of beer that are gone right now because I'm coping right now. And that's the only way I know how to right now. I understand it's unhealthy, but I'll address that in a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get through this and then I'll address it with myself like I did when my brother died. But right now, I don't need any criticism. I said, just talk to me about something else. And I remember there were people who were like, but you're avoiding it. And I said, I'm avoiding it right now at this moment in time because it's still too fresh.
Yep.
I said, my next 7 days off, we'll talk about it. I said, but right now I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that I own this truck and I'm working on it right now.
So in a sense, though, I mean, from the tragedy of your brother and your dad or stepdad, you know, with you and sorry, our upstairs bathroom is right next to the thing, so I don't know if you could hear that or not. Okay.
No.
So out of the tragedy, at least working on that truck and that kind of got it to where you weren't going through the same mental tragedy that, you know, like you went through when your brother passed. He kind of gave you an outlet so that, you know, you didn't go down the same road you went down the first time with the truck.
Kind of, but at the same time, I'd struggled with mental health before. I had tried to take my own life at one point. And I remember after working on the truck, I had found an issue with it. And I remember just cussing my brother out. Like mentally, that was the only thing I could do was just yell at the truck. Like I'm not gonna lie, the bed's getting replaced, but there definitely are some dents of me like cussing my brother out. I'm like, fuck you, Derek. Why the fuck did you do this? You left me with a piece of shit truck, blah, 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 blah. Like,
Yeah.
there were definitely those conversations that happened, and I promise most of those I was 100% sober.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, why? Why? And I found a lot of my here's why working on that truck. Because every time that I got in the truck,
Sorry, you can hear him
oh,
just.
you're fine.
Now our dog is in the background.
Yep.
Here.
Yep.
You're good.
Baby.
So I think it helped with the grieving process because I got to take a lot of my frustration out.
Mm-hmm.
But I also got a lot of closure
Yeah.
at the same time. Did I still struggle a lot? Yeah, because I would go through a center console and I would find things, or I would, I found out some things about my brother that I didn't know that
Mm-hmm.
were like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm his sister and I probably should not know about this. Like, I'm his little sister.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm 27 now. It's been 3 years. I think I was 23 when he killed himself. Something like that. And I'm like, no, this is not something his little sister should know.
Yeah.
So he didn't have that safety
I'm
plan of somebody deleting his browser history type deal thing?
no.
You're always supposed to have that.
Yeah.
She knows to delete mine.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Well,
Yeah,
you're actually young. We actually had
yeah.
that stigma growing up too. It was basically feelings got brushed underneath the rug. I'm 41 and he's, 43. So it was basically toughen up, deal with it, get over it, move on with your life. And yeah, you struggle immensely in that. Like, a lot of my stuff that I went through too, because I did try to take my own life several times as well. Um, but it all stemmed from childhood sexual abuse, and it was bad. And I went through a lot of that. And then I ended up with an individual that was a lot like the person that raised me. Um, so then dealt with that for 16 years. And the reason I became an alcoholic was because when I decided to walk out that door and divorce him, um, he got vindictive really bad. And of course, yeah, he's a narcissist. He's going to. So, we're a blended family. He's got 4 boys. I have 2. Um, but he got a lawyer. I couldn't afford one. Um, and took my boys from me. And that's when I started drinking really heavily. And it wasn't just, oh, I'll have a beer here, beer there. No, I was drinking bottles, like pints, gallons, whatever, just to numb myself. And finally, I realized after seeing what it was doing to my boys on the days that I did get them, and noting that my husband, neighbor downstairs, his 4 boys were struggling as well because of their bio mom. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is destroying not only myself, but it's destroying my children.
Well, it's kind of like too the first time you met my mother.
Yeah, yeah. Riding Brantley's Hot Wheel.
My little guy was just turning 4, and we got him a Ford Raptor Power Wheel, and she was not having one of her better days, kind of drunk.
Yeah.
Got on it and started driving it around. My mom's like, "You better get her ass off that. She's gonna break it."
Yeah.
And that was the first time she actually met my mother.
Yeah. But we weren't together then. Like, I was just his neighbor. But it just, after seeing what their bio mom was doing, because she's an alcoholic, drug addict, that sort of thing too. And
Well, my wife here, she used to come down because her apartment was kind of kitty corner. She was on the second floor. She'd come down, knock on my door, and my little guy was running around in just a diaper. She'd let her in, and as my girlfriend, their mom at the time, was passed out drunk, she would come in and cook and clean and stuff, and my ex never even knew that she was there.
no,
So
yeah,
yeah,
it
that's
just that pulled me out of everything. Saying that those boys needed help, my boys were suffering within, the whole aspect of going through the divorce and watching their mom just fade away basically slowly.
But
And, but
it does sound like, though, I mean, like I said, though, there has been some good stuff. It sounds like you've pulled yourself up out of,
yeah,
all the negativity in that. And I mean, it looks like you're at least strong enough to keep pushing on and all
mm-hmm.
that. So that's very good.
Yeah, what made you choose sobriety is what I want to know. If you could tell
Well,
everybody.
I don't think I had a choice but to figure it out. Um, and be strong. I have a half sister who is from my mom. She does not really talk to my mom due to their own conflicts. But it's only me and my mom. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is now, they all kind of blend together. There's four of us. Now it's only me and my mom. Well, my mom's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
My mom has some health issues. I didn't have a choice but to figure it out. And I realized my one coworker, I am so blessed that he was there when my brother killed himself. And I mean, we still talk here and there. I remember he called me out the one day because I was starting to fall off the wagon again. And he said, "Gee, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You work in the morning. You get up at 3 a.m. It is 11 o'clock right now, and you're at the bar hammered. What the fuck are you doing?" And I went into work that day, and I just remember he was up my ass, making as much noise as he could. And I mean, I was hungover, and I just wanted to go out my truck and drink a bottle and just get rid of this hangover. And I just remember I was pissed. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, it's time to get sober. And I realized at that point that I had to do something else. And my stepdad was still alive at the time. And I said, okay, I'm going to do better for myself. And I mean, I still drowned in a lot of it. I still kept myself really busy. But after my stepdad passed away, it made me really realize, okay, I can talk about my brother now openly.
Yeah.
I can deal with all these things. And I can either keep drowning these feelings and not talk about it, or I could turn it around and turn it into something positive and maybe help somebody else out. And since I have started, the truck's name is Southern Warrior 2.0. And I could either keep wallowing in self-pity and keep falling into that alcoholism, or I could do something positive about it and spread positivity. I can, I've had several men who have messaged me just to vent and say, hey, it's really nice that somebody cares. It's good to know if somebody cares. And I don't know these people from Adam.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact of them being able to talk to somebody, and that makes me feel better of, okay, no, I couldn't save my brother at the time because I didn't know much about men's mental health. I knew where I struggled with health, with my mental health. And hold that thought for 2 seconds. I think my dog is, yeah, you get out here. Okay. What were you doing in there? I have a feeling it wasn't anything good. That a lot more men struggle, and seeing people talk about it, they're more willing to talk about it.
Yep.
When they see that, oh wow, this girl went through losing her brother and losing her father, well, my stepdad, in a matter of 18 months, and she still figured out how to push on. If she can do that and she can advocate, maybe that's what I need to do, is just maybe advocate for myself. Maybe I need to seek help. Maybe I just need to talk to a stranger about how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel like that helps me stay sober. Like, granted, now I can sit down and I can have a beer and say, like, I work night shift now. I just had a beer with with my old coworker this morning. He's still on night shift. And I didn't have to, I could put it down after one.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I had a beer with my breakfast. Okay, I'm going home, I'm going to bed now. I'm not running away and hiding from what I feel because of I'm talking about it now. I'm helping others. I have this truck to work on.
Yep.
Things like that. I think that's the biggest thing that helps me stay sober.
Well, I know after this I'm gonna message you and get you in touch with a couple other guys that do the
They would
meds.
love to have you on their podcast, guaranteed, and they're amazing.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
Heat versus Anxiety and
Sorry.
Rory Parkett, yes, he's phenomenal. He does, what is it, Power of Man,
Yep.
and it's amazing. I've had him on mine too. And at first, and I'll freely admit this, like,
He'll probably laugh about this.
I was kind of taken aback by him, a little not too pleased in a way. Let's just say that. Because it was basically, I promote all mental health awareness, all aspects of it. It's not just men's mental health. Um,
And he pretty much pushes
men's mental health. And like, there are a few things on there where we got into it in regards to, I understand, but just don't keep shoving this down my throat. Because I promote it for everybody in every aspect of it. And that was my goal in life too, is to help everybody in that sense, because there are people that don't have a voice, can't, be like, okay, I can just talk about this. And I
Exactly.
tend to, break down those walls and push them to open up. And then I sat back and I really thought about it, and I'm like, he was right. There is a stigma around it. And it totally gave me
100%.
a new view on Rory. Um,
And we've actually had him on a couple of our shows now.
yeah, we have. And he's phenomenal. So, but yeah, I think the other one, what's his name? The one that you wanted me to go on,
Oh, the one I've got scheduled for
the
soon?
standards one.
Oh, Rob something. His show's called Fuck the Standards.
Yeah.
And he talks
I
about
love the name.
he talks about a lot of the mental health in that, and he had me on as a guest, and I mean it got pretty real pretty quick.
Yeah, like he thought he was going on there to talk about blown pistons and that.
Our automotive show.
Podcast, yeah. And no, it was totally not about that at all. He wanted to know his story, like his personal
Oh,
life,
okay.
like things
Yeah.
like that, like struggles, all that stuff. And so yeah, he's been wanting me to come on too. I slowly have been trying to get back into it more, but with my health issues and that, it's kind of hard at times.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. I can
you
only
know,
imagine.
Yeah,
I just finished chemo like a month and a half ago.
we actually just found out too she's in remission for
Mm,
the leukemia
yeah, I
because
have
she had
two.
leukemia and well, you know what they are.
It's okay. So I had chronic myeloid leukemia
Oh,
and
goodness.
acute lymphoblastic leukemia, so blood and bone cancer. Um,
Yeah.
and
See, that's
then
that's how I always put it. I put it the dumb down.
I
Yeah,
deal
blood and
with
bone cancer. I don't know what the
the
names are.
brain cancer, which is a rare form of brain cancer. It's glioblastoma. And it's normally a childhood cancer.
Yeah,
Not a
my
lot of
friend
adults get.
starts going through that.
Yep. So it's extremely hard. But like I still get up every day. I keep going. I have a purpose in life, and that's it pushes me. And my kids and my husband are like my number one thing that get me up and keep me going. Like I'm not one that normally can sit still. Um, and I also think that's also based off my trauma and everything. I went into survival mode basically. And so I just worked constantly all the time and kept myself busy because then I didn't have to stop and really think about those things.
Oh,
And
exactly.
so it is a hard thing, but when I see somebody struggling, it's like, wait a minute, Like, talk to me. Like, come on, open up. I want you to talk. Like, I don't want to wake up the next day to a text message saying, you took your life. Like, if I can save somebody by just talking to them, even for 10 minutes, then so be it.
And that is really cool, though, that how you've come out and how you've
Yeah.
really, pushed for guys to kind of start looking at their mental stability and all this. I mean, yeah, that was a really big tragedy, but you're trying to bring something out of it. Like you're trying to put a positive on a negative, which is amazing. And to be perfectly honest, the fact that I know, like, yes, Bear, um, like I could kind of tell you're wanting to break down a little bit. And I don't know how you keep it together when you do talk about it, because not being in that scenario myself, it's just looking at it through what you're thinking in like your eyes and stuff like that. And I don't know how I could keep myself together like that. I mean,
No.
even talking about it a couple of years afterwards, it's still just wow.
Yeah,
I commend you for it.
I do
If
too.
I didn't, if I didn't talk about it, I feel like too, if I didn't talk about it, for all I know, I've had several other friends commit, and it was before I started openly talking about it. But the amount of men that I have had who I know personally that I didn't know struggle with mental health come forward to me after I posted the first video and about, speaking out towards men's mental health and men's suicide awareness and things like that. I quit breaking down about it because I was talking about it so much, and I was talking to other men, and I'm like, okay, this is helping. I may be a small fraction of the difference, but I'm making a difference. I'm not waking up and reading an obituary now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm waking up to a text message that said, hey, thanks for talking to me. I really needed that.
Yep.
That's
And that's
awesome.
phenomenal because, a lot of people can't do that. They just can't. And so I commend you tremendously too on what you're doing. And I'm sure a lot of people are thankful that, they've been able to reach out to you and be like, I need to talk. And I'm sure there's times that you've pushed people too to be like, hey, it's okay to open up. Like, it's not about that stigma anymore. Men need to know that it's not about that anymore. You need to open up, say something, because you could help how many other people down the road too,
And
just by, voicing what you're going through.
and face it, most men you gotta basically be blunt with and say, "What the hell's wrong with you?"
Pretty much.
To make them to actually come out and talk sometimes.
I recently, after me and my last boyfriend broke up, and he was there when my stepdad passed away, and it was over a year ago, well over a year ago. I remember me and him were talking afterwards. Me and him are still cordial. We're still friends, to the best extent after a 3-year relationship, how much you can be friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were talking, and I said a 7-minute rule because I had been looking up, statistics and things like that. And he had been there for me through a lot of my grief and
Yeah.
implemented the 7-minute rule, where no matter where we were in life, what was going on, if we texted each other 7 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
that was code for I need you for 7 minutes, because all it takes is for to talk to somebody for 7 minutes to put them into a different mood.
Yeah.
So there are times that I have guys who call me or text me, or I'm crying teeth and saying, talk to me. I always tell them 7 minutes. There is no, all gloves are off. 7 minutes. You have to talk to me. We're not judging. We're not doing anything. But 7 minutes, you need to vent to me, and we need to have a discussion about this, and we don't talk about it ever again.
That's a good way to do that. I never even thought about that. Like, I do it in a different way, but it's just everybody's different on how they approach things. But that's amazing because I would have never thought about that.
Yep. So I always have the 7-minute rule. My one friend, he knows it like a T, because he's always struggled, and I know he has struggled. And like he'll post something on Facebook, and I'll call him and I'll be like, "Hey, motherfucker, 7
Yeah.
minutes, go.
Yeah.
Check everything out. Because he
That's a
knows
good way to
better.
do it.
He knows better. I've showed up at his house at 3 a.m. and been like, all right, you didn't answer your phone, but I know you're awake. I see your Snapchat score going up.
Yeah.
Or you're leaving me unopened. You got 7 minutes to explain yourself. We're having a discussion. No ands, if, nors, buts about it. And then I'm going home. And there's been times that we've hit that 7 minutes and he's like, all right, I'm exhausted now. I'm going to bed. And I'm like, all right, see you, bye.
Yeah.
And I leave and I'm not worried about him anymore.
Yep.
So, we've had you on for quite a while tonight, so we'll let you get
Yeah.
back to what you're doing. Is there anything that you want to promote, like your TikTok, or if like any pages or anything like that, or anything that you would like to get out there?
I have a Facebook page, which is my personal Facebook page, and I also have a page that I'm not very active on that is Southern Warrior 2.0. And my TikTok is Tommy Lee 98, where you can kind of see where our life is. I'm currently engaged.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
3 soon-to-be stepdaughters, and I talk about, men's mental health there. There's kind of dark humor, kind of unhinged things that I'm like, I'm done keeping silent. If I think it, I'm going to say it. And, kind of where our life is about, I have horses, we go hunting with our dog, things like that, that you kind of get a grasp on, like, yeah, no, some things are pretty serious. They're pretty hard. They pull at the heartstrings, but there's also times where you see people just being people. Like, our lives are full of ups and downs, and I don't censor any of it. Like, if I'm having a bad day, there's good chance that, like, you're going to see it. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
I had posted one in the morning that was, I've been to more of my friends' funerals than I have their weddings.
Yeah.
And then, like, later that night, I'm posting one about, I'm a grown adult and I'm eating mac and cheese straight out of the pan because nobody can stop me.
That sounds like our son. The other day I went in the fridge and there's just a pan sitting in there with a bunch of macaroni and cheese in it. I'm like, what? He couldn't even put that in a container? Like, seriously? But it's like, all right, he's 21. Apparently he's going to do what he wants to do, Just take care of it. That's all I ask.
Yep.
Pretty much. But we'll let you get on with your night, and this is your show, technically.
Yes.
You.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for joining us, and thank you for what you're doing because men's mental health is very important.
Perfect.
And everybody, go check her out. She's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks for having me. It was definitely a privilege, and I enjoyed every single minute of it to be able to tell my story and be able to go on these platforms and be able to share my story and maybe help somebody else and go on with my life and maybe make a difference and see where life takes me.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope you have a good night. I'm going to go finish cooking.
Dog is
I'm
driving
gonna-
me nuts.
I'm going to go take a nap and go to work at 11 o'clock.
Well, you have a good night, and thank you again for joining us.
Yes, we greatly appreciate it.
I'll send those names to you and get you hooked up with them guys, because the men's mental health for them, a lot of their listeners, could probably use it in
Yes,
the stories and
most
stuff like that.
definitely.
So, and thank you again. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it.
Yes, we greatly appreciate it. You have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.